motivations in the First World War, but not everyone was killed. What about the survivors? What did they do during the Second World War? Now, I would think First World War is slightly idealistic. Second World War, possibly a lot more realistic. I do know that, particularly in Northern Ireland, great pressure was put on those to rejoin. Particularly even those who had suffered severe injuries in the Second World War. Has any work been done on that at all? I have never actually seen anything about it, because someone who volunteers to fight the Second World War, there's a definite political dimension there.
Any comments, Keith?
Well, I mean, you'd think there was almost nothing left to find out about the First World War and its consequences. And there's a huge amount we yet don't know. I mean, Erskine Holmes talked about women. There's a whole area there. Children, how does it affect children? And the returning veterans, in fact, are as yet comparatively understudied. What about the wound? I mean, you know, it's sometimes a surprise. We are so mesmerized by this notion of the First World War and the mincing machine of the Western Front and the inevitability of death, because all the plays, they all end up with nearly everyone dying. You know, from Blackadder to Gallipoli to Observe the Sons of Ulster Marching to the Somme. One guy survives from that, 1 out of 8. And in fact, you know, the casualties of the people who enlisted, it's you know, 10% die, 90% survive. And this is sometimes a bit of a surprise to people to discover that you know, the population of Ireland goes up between 1914 and 1918, despite this demographic catastrophe. You know, people are still, you know, living there. And when I talk to my students and I say, well, we'll all have a little look on the Commonwealth War Graves website, which is a fantastic website with millions of names on this. And I say, you're really lucky if you find a relative who's died, because they're well recorded. If you have a relative who served who didn't die, they're actually much more difficult to find. And their history is lost. And it's a real challenge to try and recover that. The ubiquity of cripples and people who might not seem crippled. I mean, we're not allowed to use the term, but that's the term which is used. But not just the physically wounded, but the mentally, the post-traumatic stress, which hadn't been invented then, so it can't have happened. So there are a whole lot of people in those figures. The psychological history, the psychiatric history of the war and its aftermath. And those, mind you, those people, I mean, the Second World War, I take your point about people being encouraged to join up again, but these guys are in their, you know, pushing into their 40s by this stage, and by and large, it's a new generation, I think, who join up. Now, they may be the children of those people, but I think that's different. But again, Ireland's engagement with the Second World War is the new histories that are being written are the histories of the last sort of 8-10 years only, is again recovering that. And part of the reason why, I mean, we can do this is that the sides, in some ways, the sides people took that long ago don't matter anymore in Irish political terms. You can recover this. And you've got this, I was reflecting on this, you know, going back on the apparent redemptive quality of common suffering, common military service. We can find meaning in this. Now, over the past 30 years, you know, from 69 to 89, or, you know, 30 years from 69 in Northern Ireland, there are parallel narratives of common military service and suffering. And until we can, and we're a long way from someone saying, well, we'll find a common meaning in that. Some people are groping towards that, but it's still raw, it still matters. There's unfinished business there in a way which there isn't for the, and its time is doing that. But there are histories, you know, there which we neglect at our peril, perhaps. Sorry, I've gone on too long, as usual.